I'm speaking from the south of Europe in an island in the Mediterranean, a Spanish island, and it's very hot here. So I have found a place outside where the reception is strongest for my phone because I'm using my phone as a Wi-Fi. In sharing what I have with you, I'm going to use the term Goethean psychology quite often because it is the name I give to psychophonetics, which many of you are involved with or you know of. When Yehuda Tagar created psychophonetics, he did call it philophonetics, and now also he refers to it as methodical empathy. All of those are psychophonetics, and Goethean psychology that I use is also psychophonetics. It's no different. I owe and credit Yehuda Tagar with everything that I do. Some of you may be familiar with the word Goethe and the man Goethe, the artist, scientist, dramatist, poet. I would love to give a talk one day on Goethe and Goethean science, but it would be digressing too far now. But just to say that he adopted a method of observation which included the observer, unlike modern science, where the observer is, well, not really part of the calculation. I am a science teacher and trainer in Waldorf science, and so Goethean science, where observation involves the whole human being, holistic, has been an important part of my career. So after I was trained in psychophonetics by Yehuda Tagar, and after many years of practicing, I realized this really was Goethean psychology. It was the science that had not been taken up by Goethe. Plants, animals, minerals, the stars, the weather, but psychology? No. So I named it Goethean psychology. But let's now go straight to the heart of the presentation and the conversation that I would like to have with you. My question to you, not to answer out loud now, but it's a rhetorical question. Have you ever calculated how much time you spend on a screen, but looking at what you didn't start out looking for? What you didn't start out looking for? There is a very good argument for saying that screens and films and TV reduce our ability to create our own pictures. And that's a very powerful picture, powerful story, but it's a different story. It's the story of how young children's ability to create their own inner pictures is being undermined and weakened and even destroyed by the huge number of pictures they receive from outside. But I'm going to speak of an influence much more powerful than the screens. Much more powerful. It's the influence of algorithms. Now, there are those present here now who would be much more competent and able to explain the nature of an algorithm. But very simply, it is that device which means that we can be distracted from what we originally start out to look for. There are some very fine conjurers, people who can perform tricks that make it impossible for anybody to understand how they work, and the people are astonished by the conjuring trick. So such a conjurer is able to use tricks. So, for instance, by making a gesture with one hand very dramatically, while quietly changing something with the other hand, because you distract your audience and you do something with the other hand. Some conjurers are so focused that they can, with their slight eye movement, direct the person to choose one card rather than another. Now, an algorithm takes this control to a very, very advanced level. By collecting data on what we look at, the algorithm can feed us with other items, other videos that might interest us. And you could consider that's a very sensible thing for an algorithm to do. After all, I've clicked on a video and I've shown my interest. So if the algorithm presents me with 10 other videos of a similar subject, oh, this must be only helpful to me. Now, the algorithm's chosen, and the titles on the videos are carefully designed to meet exactly our personal profiles. All our activity online is processed to extract the particular individual characteristics and likes that we have. And that's why I asked you the question at the beginning, have you worked out ever how much time you spend looking at what you didn't begin with? I can find that 20 minutes later, I can be looking at something absolutely fascinating, but absolutely nothing to do with what I originally set out to investigate. In fact, I'd really forgotten why I started.
那 Graham 老师他就说哈，他一开始呢，可能打开手机是有一个原因，结果20分钟之后呢，已经在看一些特别吸引人的，但是跟一开始拿起手机要用它的那个目的完全不相关的一些内容了。同时呢，完全忘记了自己当时一开始是为什么打开手机的。
But the main financial reward for the advertisers and for the companies, whether it's Facebook or YouTube or whatever, the finance that comes in depends exactly on how much time we are locked into a particular screen item. Now, there are hundreds of researchers in Silicon Valley and other places, now all over the world, who have worked very, very carefully to design psychological entrapment to see that you lose your power to choose what you are looking at. There are several books which have been written by those insiders in Google, for instance, and Facebook, who have described how their work has been designed to extract information to keep people's attention on the screen. One of the methods is called clickbait, where the title of the video has very little to do with the content. But once you've clicked, then that's a monetary reward for the company. It's like fishing. You put a worm on the end of a hook. But what the psychologists have found is that we have a deep interest in anger and violence, particularly men. So the algorithm leads us deeply and deeply from an interest in a conflict. It leads us deeply into more and more violent actions. So our interest in robbery produces algorithms which lead us to murder. And then after murder, there is, other interesting videos of a more, of a really more disgusting nature. So the algorithms are designed to polarize opinions, to produce conflict and anger. And this insider in Google realized that it's a poisonous part of a poison to social interaction. The other item which keeps us attached to a screen are notifications. We can switch notifications off, but how many of us do? We can be notified, our concentration can be broken at any time that we're not on a screen to bring us back to the screen. Now, none of these things are wrong. I'm not being fanatical here. They can be incredibly useful, notifications, for instance, and the algorithms themselves. But when this particular individual tried to change or suggest changes to the algorithm, so for instance, he suggested algorithms which provide a balancing point of view, that take up the middle ground. So when an extreme video is chosen, algorithms could throw up balancing points of view or balancing influences, promoting, if you like, calmness, meditation, peacefulness, reconciliation, mediation, all kinds of ways in which extreme anger can be diverted. He suggested, for instance, there could be notification when one of your close friends happened to be in the geographical area near you, so that you could get contact with him and say, I see you're quite close to me, let's have a coffee. But that means, of course, you would put your phone down and go and see him and have a really nice meeting, but you wouldn't be looking on your phone. So this would reduce the amount of money that Facebook and YouTube receive. It would be counter to the business model. The business model is to maximize profits. And anything that distracts you from looking, clicking, means less profits. So this promoting of videos or contacts or links, which promote balance, which promote considered views, considered opinions, those algorithms are not going to create money. So it was rather like telling an oil company not to drill for oil. Now, you could say that we should have the power to resist such influence and make our own choices of what we see. And I would agree, but only if we're really aware of how powerful this distraction from choosing is, how powerful it really is. And we could look at our own behavior to find out how much we are distracted. Studies have been made and calculations have been made to see really how much time is taken up by the distractive power of the algorithms. But I'm not going to cover that ground because I want to move on to the issue itself, which I feel is in the same position now with algorithms as we had with smoking 50 years ago, pesticides 40 years ago, plastics now, and radioactive waste. The pollution is now no longer our environment outside. The pollution is of our own psychological structure, the structure of our soul. With the advent of AI, of course, the power of this distraction with false news and false videos and false photos is going to increase. And someone has coined the phrase, which I think is very, very significant phrase. They've coined the phrase surveillance capitalism, surveillance capitalism, making money out of determining closely what your views, opinions, and psychological makeup is. Now, I have dwelt for some time, if you like, on the negative effects of the technology around us, and I don't want to overstate it, but we have a crisis around, a developing crisis around our ability to focus, and that is the power of the I, the individuality, the spiritual activity of the individual human being. The I am is our unique individual power. No one can say I am for anyone else, only for themselves. And the power of the activity is to create images, to create thinking, and to hold concentration long enough to link up one thought with another and not be distracted by outer events. This is the incredible power of the human I am. It is an activity. The I am is not a thing. It's an activity, a spiritual activity, which allows us to create the world we wish to live in, allows us to create new opportunities for ourselves and others, gives rise to ideas, guides us in our life, and ultimately is what distinguishes us from animals which are subject to the instincts which we also have, but we may not be subject to them. As we grow up through childhood, our experiences are like food. We digest our experiences. We make meaning from them. Many experiences that we digest create a vessel for the moment, the time in our 20s when the I really descends into our body and we can use those faculties which we have digested in our childhood. As an adult, I am. I live within several bodies. My physical body, and I live with the body that heals, forms, and shapes and creates and keeps healthy that physical body. Without it, the physical body falls away in death. Then we have an emotional body, which we also live in, which is nested inside those other bodies. And into that emotional body, we live as an I am. So as we grow up, we digest our experiences, and those that we can digest give us the stability and the joy and the pleasure and the faculties and the ability to live our lives. But there are experiences which we never properly digest. Although those experiences are in the past, the effects of those experiences are not in the past. They're present now. Going back into the past and finding out about them isn't going to help us. What helps us is to understand what we carry within us as undigested experience. Now, the bad news is, of course, that we can't change the past. We might want to change the past, but we can't. The good news is that we can change how we feel about the past. We can change how we relate to the past. And this is the core ability of psychophonetics, Goethean psychology, to provide the tools to change how we feel about what we carry from the past. Those things we couldn't digest live in us as kind of bubbles. They obscure our vision. And by our vision, I don't mean our eyesight, I mean the seeing of the I am. The I am can no longer see the meaning of things. It's obscured by these bubbles, undigested bubbles of the past. I'll stop in about 5 minutes so that we have our conversation. And some of you will have seen what I'm about to show, perhaps more than once. Apologies, but I feel it's so helpful that it can be shown many, many times. I look out into the world and I am very much distracted by all the things that go on in my emotional body. Pleasurable things that I see, worrying things that I see, dangerous things that I see, those stand between me and my experience. When I am at my best, when I'm not in a position of stress or exhaustion or tiredness, and I feel glad, then my sense of being present, of being an I am, is really very strong. But I've only got to see an algorithm which tells me that a bridge has collapsed in the motorway or a ship has sunk with hundreds of people dead, and immediately my emotional attention is taken away, to give an example. And if I have been in a motorway accident or in a sea accident, that will trigger my experiences from the past, and my vision and my sense of being present will be clouded by my emotions from what I've just heard. And this is what the algorithms are set up to do, to find anxieties, fears, fascinations with the bizarre, with anger, violence, or fascination with something extraordinary, something to trigger within us those memories and experiences which will take us away from just being there with the other person that we're with. So I'm looking at you through the fairly clear water of my astral emotional body. Probably you can't see me, and actually I can't see you, because the water in this vase and the shape of the container is distorting my view already. In this emotional body that I have, that I'm looking through with my I am activity, and I'm seeing meaning through it, it's fairly clear. But if an experience comes along which stimulates this emotional body, stimulates some of the bubbles which have not been digested from my past, then this can happen. I look through my emotional body and I say, you look rather pale, rather ill. You're not well. And if I add a drop of red ink, I would say, you're cross with me. You're angry with me. I'm sure you are. I can see it. If I add a drop of blue, then I might say, oh, you look really sad. Are you unhappy? You do look sad. Tell me about it. But actually, it's my own sadness that I'm
但实际
putting on
上呢，
someone else. It's my own anger or fear or anxiety, or whatever it might be, that I put on someone else. It's my own. Now, through the language of gesture, psychophonetics, Goethean psychology, allows us to do this,
它
to
透
place
过
our emotional body gesture on one side. And I can look at that anxiety or that fear or that sadness or that anger, and I can see it's my anger, it's my sadness, it's my fear, and it's over there, and I can now look at it. I am here looking at my anger, sadness, fear, anxiety, whatever it might be. I know it's part of me, but it's not any longer blocking my I am. I am able to see now that it is not the whole of me. It's part of me that's sad, and I can look at it. And the analogy would be to say that algorithms put drops of colored water into our emotional bodies. And if we don't know that they are there, then we react. We get caught up in the quarrel, we get caught up in the argument, we become politically polarized, we become passionate, too passionate, or antagonistic. Or if we put it there, then we can find perspective. We can find the balance. And just as we used to enjoy the smoking and had no idea about the cancer that could arise, just as we were glad to get rid of the pests with pesticides, with no idea that we would harm all the wildlife around us, just as we could enjoy plastics and their convenience without realizing that little plastic pieces now are in the embryos of our children, and the radioactivity story is similar. So also, we are unaware that the pollution of the I am is taking place while the I am is being fed these incredible videos. I have gone way over the 5 minutes. I'm so sorry, but I'll stop there. And yes, we can have a conversation about what I consider to be, I think, one of the most significant things that we will develop an understanding for, hopefully, over the next 10 to 20 years. And I think psychophonetics or Goethean psychology has a most powerful role to play to awaken people, to become free from the reactive source of all these manipulative, politically, government, commerce, all manipulating our attention. Thank you for your attention. Thank you very much.
Like to share something to encourage us or to inspire us, or
Yeah,
we
yes,
we
I
would also
would.
invite.
Do you need to speak in Chinese for that? Or
I already did that.
you did that already? Okay, sorry. Right. Yes, gladly. There are two sides, really. There are those things which get in our way of being present, which I illustrated with the jug and the liquid. But there is another way, which is to take what we're given and enhance, to actually strengthen our power of focus. On the other hand, psychophonetics can take away the jug of murky colored liquid. Psychophonetics can take that away, but when it's away, then there is work to do to strengthen the focus. And I can speak to that. Rudolf Steiner, who gave the inspiration for Waldorf education, as well as many other things, he grounded his work on the idea of the evolution of consciousness. The task that humanity has the opportunity to take up is an evolutionary task. We can take the consciousness that we have and we can enhance it, strengthen it. He gave a wealth of material for practicing meditative discipline, but there's one example I'd like to share with you. It's a very simple exercise, and you might say, well, this is not a spiritual exercise, it's too simple. But yes, it is very powerful, and I certainly recommend to you, sorry, airplane going over, take something very simple, every day, nothing very complicated. For instance, a button or a pencil or a key. Yes, choose whatever you would wish. A pin. And focus your attention on the one thing you've chosen, say a button. And keep your thinking absolutely focused on the button for 5 minutes. Now, when you first do it, it will probably work for 5 minutes. But when you do it a second time, you start to get a little bit bored with this button. Certainly, if you do it every day for a week, 4 weeks, 2 weeks, you begin to get bored. And then the interesting things start happening. You find somewhere sort of quiet and undistracted to do this, and you set off thinking about your button. And it's very easy. It's round, it's hard, it has holes in, it can be sewn onto a piece of material. And then once sewn onto the piece of material, it can be pushed through a slit, which is just the diameter of the button. Once it's through the slit, then it turns, and of course, it won't come back. Okay, on and on. But gradually, suddenly, you get distracted. And you remember a coat you had once that you liked, and then soon you're thinking about where you wore it, who you were with, and then all kinds of other things come in, nothing to do with the button. You find yourself in an inner battle. There may be an outer battle with time and you have to go and catch your bus or whatever it may be, but if you set yourself 5 minutes of time, then the battle's an inner battle. You have no excuses. You're battling your inner processes. I set my alarm for 5 minutes. It's very useful to do that. And what a battle it can be. Those voices that say, oh, this is ridiculous, I haven't got time for this. Or be nice to yourself when you have finally ended up thinking about, oh, I don't know, America or climate change or something, and you realize you've lost the button quite a long time ago. Be kind to yourself. Just come back to the button and finish the 5 minutes. And then try again the next day. Treat it like going to the gym and doing some push-ups and exercises. You're exercising a muscle. You're exercising the activity of your eye focus, and it will strengthen. But the early stages, it can be quite painful, like any muscle that hasn't been used. It will sort of, be careful, be kind to yourself, but gradually that muscle will develop and you will notice. Suddenly you will notice that you don't lose the thread of a conversation with somebody. Even though something happens nearby that distracts you, you don't lose the thread of what you were talking to that friend about, or what you were talking to yourself about if you're sitting quietly working something out. Your concentration gets stronger. If you persevere, you will find the strength of that muscle, I'll call it a muscle, will change many things in your life. It really will help you in all that you do. Do email me and tell me how you get on. We can share notes.
嗯
Google Translate works pretty well.
Thank you for your recommendation. It sounds really easy, but actually it's not so easy to do. And I recommend people try it for a month, see what will happen.
Absolutely. Yeah.
See if there's any other sharing or feedback.
Yes, please do share ideas. It doesn't have to be directly a question. It can be a sharing. We all have experiences we can share.
Zhang Lin said the exercise you shared just now reminds her about Chinese sitting meditation. Sounds quite similar.
I'm sure.
Is this kind of sitting meditation also enhancing one's eye power?
Yes, you can enhance it by trying to do it in a train or a bus. Very interesting to do that with all the hubbub around, and you stay focused on your button. You can make it more and more difficult for yourself as you get better and better at it. You're exercising the muscle that the algorithms would like to weaken, destroy even. Yeah. So you become an easy puppet on a string for a government or for a commercial organization. We become puppets. It's the road to being a puppet that we must resist.
Okay, Graham, and it's about time to finish our conversation, and we enter into our case demonstration with Echo.